Eggs are already one of the simplest, most powerful fat-burning foods that you can eat. But there is a good chance you are leaving most of the fat loss on the table without even realizing it. Believe it or not, two people can eat the exact same eggs every morning, and one burns nearly 4 times more belly fat than the other just from getting a few small things right. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 most powerful rules to get even more fat loss out of your eggs, how each one works, and the pro tips that you won't hear anywhere else. So to start, I want to show you why the number of eggs you eat in the morning decides whether your body burns fat or barely does anything at all. Most people crack 2 eggs and think they're doing something good for themselves, and they are, but 2 eggs actually sits right below the line where the real fat burning kicks in. Here's what I mean. Inside the yolk of each egg is a nutrient called choline. And you can think of choline as the shipping containers that your liver uses to pack up fat and ship it out to your body. Without enough choline, your liver can't build those containers. So the fat just sits there packed in with no way out. And that backed up fat in your liver is one of the biggest reasons belly fat won't budge after the age of 50. The problem is 2 eggs doesn't give your liver enough choline to do the job. 3 to 4 eggs does. That small jump is what finally gives your liver enough to start clearing the fat instead of letting it pile up. And it's not just for your liver. Those extra eggs also hit the amount of protein that your muscles need to repair and grow. And more muscle means a faster metabolism, which means you're burning more fat around the clock even while you sleep. So the fix here is simple. Make it 3 to 4 eggs, not 2. And I mean whole eggs, yolk and all, because everything we just talked about, the choline, the fat burning, the muscle, it's all in the yolk. The second you toss the yolk and eat just the whites, you've thrown away the entire reason eggs burn fat in the first place. Now, coming up, I've got 4 more egg rules, even more powerful than this, including one that can help you lose almost 4 times as much belly fat while eating 500 more calories a day. It sounds crazy, I know it, but it's true, so stay tuned for that. Now, before we get there, I want to show you how the way that you cook eggs decides how much that fat burning power actually survives. Because those nutrients that are packed inside of that yolk are fragile. Cook them too hot for too long and you destroy a big chunk of them before they ever reach your body. Most people scramble their eggs hard. They fry them until the edges go brown or blast them in the microwave, and every one of those does the same thing. High heat oxidizes the yolk. That's a fancy way of saying it damages the fat and the cholesterol inside, which turns something healthy into something your body sees as more harmful. So the goal is to keep that yolk soft and runny. The white can be fully cooked. In fact, it should be, because that's how your body absorbs the protein that's inside of it. But the yolk needs to be protected and needs to stay somewhat loose. That means poached, soft-boiled, over easy, maybe a little bit towards over medium, but that's as far as we probably should go. For a soft-boiled egg, drop it into gently boiling water for about 6 to 7 minutes, and the yolk stays slightly loose, slightly runny, with all that fat-burning payload intact. The runnier the yolk, the more of those fat-burning nutrients make it into your body. Now, even if you cook your eggs perfectly, there's one thing in the pan that can undo all of it, and that's the oil. Most people reach for vegetable oil, canola oil, or one of those yellow bottles that says heart healthy. And that oil doesn't just sit on the surface of your eggs, it soaks in and it gets into your body with every bite. Now here's the problem. Those oils are loaded with fragile fats that break down the second they hit a hot pan. When they break down, they create the kind of inflammation that keeps your fat cells locked shut. So you can do everything else right, eat the perfect eggs cooked the perfect way, and then drown them in an oil that slams the door on fat burning. Picture pouring premium fuel into your gas tank and then dumping a handful of sand in right behind it. That's what cooking your eggs in vegetable oil does. So here's the easy fix. Cook your eggs in butter. That's what I do. Or use ghee or even avocado oil instead. These oils stay stable even when they're heated. Now don't overheat them, but a low to medium heat is what we want anyway to protect the yolk. And then that way, those oils don't break down and turn inflammatory the way that the other fake oils do. And butter and ghee come with an added bonus. They're rich in a special fat called butyrate. Butyrate flips on your body's fat burning systems and helps calm down the inflammation, keeping fat cells locked. So instead of fighting your eggs, the fat in the pan is working right alongside with them. Okay, next up, this is the one I promised you back at the start. The single biggest mistake that decides whether you lose fat or you hold on to it. Get this one wrong, and it can cancel out almost everything else that you're doing right. Let me show you what I mean with a study that still surprises me. Researchers took two groups, put them on different breakfasts. The first group ate the so-called healthy way, low fat, cutting back on the fat and leaning on carbohydrates instead. The second group went the other direction, keeping the fat, dropping the carbs. But that's not all. The low fat group was also cutting 500 calories a day, while the other group was eating those 500 calories. So if calories were really what drove your belly fat, the low fat group should have easily won, but it was the second group eating more food, 500 more calories, that lost nearly 4 times more belly fat. How is that possible? It came down to one thing on the plate: carbohydrates. When you eat carbs, your blood sugar shoots up and your body releases a flood of insulin to deal with it. Insulin is the hormone that slams the brakes on fat burning. As long as insulin is high, your body physically cannot burn stored fat. Now here's where eggs come in. Eggs are a zero carb food. They're built to keep your insulin low and your fat burning switched on. But the moment you pair them with toast or hash browns or a glass of juice or a bowl of oatmeal, you flood your body with carbs. Your insulin shoots up. And then all that fat from the yolk, the fat that was supposed to fuel your fat-burning hormones, gets shoved straight into storage. So you sit there eating eggs every morning thinking that you're doing everything right, while the toast next to them is undoing the whole thing. That's why those two groups got such different results. The second group kept their insulin low, so the fat they ate actually got burned instead of stored. So keep your eggs in low carb company. If you need to add something, add some spinach, add some peppers, mushrooms, tomatoes, maybe a little smoked salmon or cheese or some breakfast meats, and keep the toast, the potatoes, and the juice off the plate if you can. Now, that said, if you want to add some carbs with your meal, there is a simple trick that you can use to keep insulin down. Eat your eggs and your vegetables first, and then save those carbs for the very end. Just by eating them last instead of first, you cut the blood sugar spike from that meal by up to 44%. You're eating the exact same food, but simply change the order that you eat it in, and that can have a massive impact on your ability to burn fat. Now, there's one last thing that decides how much fat-burning power your eggs have, and it's settled before you ever crack one open. I'm talking about the kind of eggs that you're buying. Here's what most people don't realize. An egg is only as good as the hen that laid it. You are not what you eat. You are what you ate. Think about that one. None of the fat-burning nutrients that we've talked about are made by the hen herself. They come from what she eats and how she lives. A hen out on a pasture eating grass, clover, bugs, in the sunlight lays a completely different egg than one stuck in a cage eating nothing but corn and soy. Same shell, sitting right next to each other at the store, but inside they're not even close. A true pasture-raised egg can have up to 4 times the vitamin D, 2 to 3 times the omega-3s, and far more of the antioxidants that your body needs to fight the inflammation that locks fat in place. And it actually shows up on the scale. In one study, people who ate omega-3 rich eggs trimmed inches off their waist over 3 months without changing anything else they were doing. So when you're at the store, here's what you need to look for. The words you want on the carton are pasture raised, not just cage free, not just free range. Those sound nice and they're better than conventional eggs, but all they mean is that the hen wasn't in a cage. They don't promise that she ever set foot outside. So the optimal is pasture raised. Pasture raised is the one that tells you the hen actually lived outside on the grass. And here's a simple way to know that you got the real thing. If you crack the egg open and look at the yolk, it's a deep, rich orange instead of a pale yellow that you would oftentimes see at a diner. That's the sign it's loaded with the nutrients that make eggs burn fat. The pale ones are the eggs that look the part but leave most of the fat burning power out. So spend the extra $1 or $2 on real pasture raised eggs. It's the difference between eggs that just look healthy and eggs that actually do the work. Okay, now you know how to get the most fat burning power out of your eggs. But eggs are just one piece of your morning. There are other breakfast foods that train your body to burn belly fat as well. And a few of them work even better when you pair them with eggs that you're already eating. So I broke down the 10 best ones in another video, which has now been seen by more than 1 million people. And I show you the foods that keep you full for hours, the ones that control your hunger hormones, and a couple you've probably been told for years to stay away from. Put them together with what you've learned today, and you've got a breakfast that burns fat for you all morning long. I will include a link to that video here. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.